Hey there, math peeps. This is Chad Durrell with MGT. I wanted to bring you another video about another resource that I've used in my own classroom before that I really like. But I'm going to break it up into 3 different videos. One of them is going to show some of the classroom resources that this particular site offers. Another is going to be how to use the graphing part of the site for elementary, and then another one how to use the graphing for middle school. So the first thing is I want to show you some of the classroom resources that are available. So as you can see, we're at geogebra.org. That's a kind of mix of geometry and algebra, Geogebra. So when you first get to the site, you'll see 2 big buttons at the top, Start Graphing and Classroom Resources. If you scroll down just a little bit, you'll actually see that they have kind of taken all of the ones for elementary and put them together. And of course, there's some middle school ones there as well. But we're going to take a look at 2 elementary resources. So when you click on that, then it takes you to K through 2 math resources or 3 through 5. So I'm going to take a look at the 3 through 5. I'm going to do one in operations, fractions, decimals, and percents, and another one in geometry, measurement, and data. So let's take a look at the one for 3 through 5. And so when I click on that, I actually have the tab open, so I'm just going to click over to that. This is what you're going to see, and you'll have a long list of different resources. So a lot of them are really neat. I invite you to check those out kind of on your own to decide which ones might be useful for you. So I want to take a look at one called What Are the Characteristics of Parallelograms? Because I know a lot of our schools are kind of moving into that right now. And so here we have this little program kind of inside of it. It was written with their software, Geogebra, and most of it is fairly intuitive to use. I will tell you though that whether you're making a video or you're doing this live in class, obviously that would be for a later date, you want to use this little button down here that makes it full screen. Okay, so if you go full screen, then that's the only thing that you see and there's nothing else there. Okay, and so here we have a parallelogram. Well, what makes a parallelogram? Let's take a look at the sides. And so you notice if I click sides, I get a little ruler, and I can use that ruler and I can actually measure the sides of the parallelogram. In order to measure the other side, I need to use this little blue dot here, and I can rotate the ruler up and try to get that aligned just right. A little off there. There we go. Aligned just right, and I can measure that and say, see, that is 5 centimeters. And then I come over here and I can measure, it's also 5 centimeters, right? So that's kind of neat. And then I can look at the angles. Now the angles, I really like this one. So what it does is actually creates another one. And then it says rotate and drag the figures to see whether the parallelogram has equal sides. So if I use my little rotate button here, and it's going to rotate it all the way around 180 degrees. And now I can actually drag this over and I can show that the green angle and the blue angle are exactly the same. The red angle and the yellow angle are exactly the same. And so then if I rotate it around, you can show your students, see, it's the exact same thing, right? Well, if I rotate it around, and they are equal or congruent. Perhaps you're using that word in your class. And then I can also look for parallel sides. It says use the ruler to see whether we have parallel sides. Now, this one took a little bit of time for me to kind of think about how do they want us to do that, but it makes sense now if you take the ruler and you line it up with this side, right? And it's nice and perfect. Well, almost, I guess. Yeah, maybe right there. There we go. Nice and perfect. Now, if I move that over to the other side, it's also aligned with that side, and I didn't need to change the ruler at all, right? And the same thing with the top and the bottom there. If I line that up, line it up there, and then I line it up here, and they're both aligned and it's nice and straight. And so I can see that those opposite sides are parallel and these opposite sides are also parallel. So that's a neat little tool that you can use either in your classroom or on an instructional video that you wanted to make. So I'm going to click escape and it'll get me out of the full screen. And now let's take a look at another one. If I come back here and click on operations, fractions, decimals, and percents, it'll take me to a page that looks like this. And again, it's a long list of resources that I invite you to kind of check out ones that might work for you in your classroom. There is one that I wanted to look at, and it's this multiplying fractions here. right, again, I'm going to make that full page. Okay, and so when I type in a fraction here, so let's just, I don't know, 3/4. Let's do that. And then fraction number 2, I don't know, let's do 6/8. Sure. Okay, and so I have the model 3/4 over here, and I've got 6/8 over here, and then I click the Go button, and you'll see that those two models combine together. So what I really like about this is that since the two models are joined, it doesn't actually have the product written out. So then you could talk about how we've got 8 rows and we've got 4 columns, right? So that's a total of 32 as the denominator. And then you can, of course, count up how many pieces that you have here. It looks like we've got 6 by 3. And of course, that is 18. And then you can go on, of course, reduce that fraction and things if that's what the standard calls for. So those are 2 major ones that I wanted to talk about today with you. Again, I really invite you to check out a lot of what the other pieces that they have available, because a lot of them are really neat, and I think a lot of them will work really well in your classroom. So again, this is just video 1 of a series of 3 that I intend on making. So thanks for watching.